The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. To Elias Vance, peering through the reinforced glass of his cell in the Blackwater Penitentiary, it felt like the world itself was weeping for him. The sky was a sheet of bruised purple and gray, mirroring the hollow ache in his chest. In 6 hours at midnight, the state would execute him for a crime he did not commit. 7 years of appeals. 7 years of screaming his innocence into a void that echoed back only with the sound of slamming doors. His hands, once celebrated for their ability to coax life from barren soil, were now soft and pale, useless. The clang of the meal slot interrupted the rhythm of the rain. It wasn't dinner time. Warden Croft stood there, his face a granite mask of procedure. Vance. Final requests are due. Elias's voice was rusty from disuse. The garden, he whispered. Let me see my garden one last time. Your garden. Croft's eyebrow arched. The one at the old property. It's not a trick, Elias pleaded, a flicker of his old passion breaking through. There's something there. A piece of me. I just need to say goodbye to it. Something in the raw, desperate tone gave the warden pause. It was unorthodox, insane even. But the man was hours from death. What harm could it do? 1 hour. Under full escort, Croft stated flatly. We'll leave at 5. As the warden walked away, Elias closed his eyes. This desperate, impossible request would set in motion a chain of events that would unravel the tapestry of lies that had ensnared him. Elias Vance had not always been a number. Once, he was the heart of the small coastal town of Seabrook. A master horticulturist, his gardens were local legends. He could make anything grow. His broad shoulders were perpetually sun-tanned, his smile as warm as the summer soil he tended. Now, at 42, those shoulders were stooped from 7 years of confinement. The lines on his face were etched not by sun, but by despair. Yet, an innate gentleness remained in his sea-green eyes, a dignity that not even prison could strip away. His life had unraveled the night Elias Thorne, Seabrook's most ruthless real estate developer, was found bludgeoned to death in his modernist glass mansion overlooking the sea. The murder weapon, a custom-made, weighted trowel, an anniversary gift from Elias's late wife, its handle carved with his initials. The case, led by Detective Mara Thorne Eris's fiercely ambitious niece, was ironclad. Elias and Eris had been publicly feuding for months. Eris wanted to bulldoze the coastal bluffs, including Elias's cherished garden, to build a luxury resort. Elias was the charismatic face of the opposition. Motive: perfect. A partial muddy boot print near the French doors matched Elias's work boots. His trowel was found at the scene. His alibi, that he was alone, tending his greenhouse, was impossible to verify. Only his lawyer, a young, idealistic public defender named Ben Carter, had believed him. And of course, Terra. Terra was more than a dog. She was a 6-year-old Border Collie with intelligent, heterochromatic eyes, one blue, one brown, that missed nothing. He'd found her as a starving puppy, abandoned near the cliffs. He named her Terra for the earth she loved to run on. She was his shadow, his silent confidant, the only living thing who understood the language of his heart. On the night of the murder, when Detective Thorne and her officers came to arrest him, Terra had gone berserk. Not at the officers, but at Elias's boots, left by the door. She'd snarled and snapped at them, trying to drag them away, a memory that now burned in Elias's mind with new significance. The phone shattered the silence of Clara Reed's small cottage. Clara, Elias's former apprentice and the woman who had loved him quietly for years, jerked awake from a restless sleep. Terra, sleeping at the foot of her bed, lifted her head instantly. Ms. Reed? Warden Croft. Elias Vance has requested to see his property before the execution. He's asked for his dog to be present. Clara's throat closed. Terra. Why? The inmate was unclear. If you can be at the prison with the animal in 1 hour, we will allow it. The line went dead. Clara sat motionless, tears welling. She looked at Terra, whose head was cocked, those mismatched eyes fixed on her as if understanding every word. Terra was still, vibrant, but Clara saw the subtle signs of time. The muzzle was dusted with gray, and she slept more deeply than she used to. "Come on, girl," Clara whispered, her voice thick. "We're going to see Elias." At the sound of his name, Terra's ears shot forward. She let out a soft, hopeful whine and padded to the door, waiting. The drive to Blackwater was a blur of rain and tears. Terra sat upright in the passenger seat, tense and alert, watching the wipers sweep back and forth as if counting down the seconds. At the prison, they were met by Warden Croft and two stone-faced guards. Terra's posture changed immediately. Her body went rigid, her focus intense, herding instincts on high alert. She pressed against Clara's leg, a low growl rumbling in her chest. Not at the people, but at the oppressive feel of the place. "They're waiting for you in the visitation room," Croft said, eyeing the dog warily. The moment the door opened, Terra froze. Her eyes locked on Elias, who stood shackled in the center of the room. For a heartbeat, the world stopped. Then, she erupted. With a cry that was half yelp, half sob, she tore across the room, slipping on the polished floor in her urgency. She launched herself at him, not to jump, but to press her entire body against his legs, trembling violently. She whined and licked his hands, nudging him, circling him, as if trying to herd him away from this terrible place. "Hey, sweet girl," Elias choked out, his chains clinking as he tried to stroke her. "My good girl. You remember me." Terra suddenly stilled. She began sniffing frantically at his standard-issue prison trousers, particularly around the cuffs. She pawed at them, whining with a new, desperate intensity. "What's she doing?" one of the guards asked, taking a step forward. I don't know," Elias said, bewildered. Clara watched, a memory striking her. "Elias, it's like that night. At your house. When they came for you. She did the same thing to your boots." Just then, the door burst open. A woman in a rain-soaked trench coat stood there, her face etched with urgency. "Detective Mara Thorne. Warden, we need to talk. Now." Her eyes swept the scene, lingering on the dog pawing at the inmate. "It's about the Vance case. There's a problem." As if in response to her presence, Terra let out a vicious snarl, not at Thorne, but at the air around her. She was remembering a scent. In Warden Croft's office, Mara Thorne didn't bother to sit. "I need a postponement. 24 hours. On what grounds, detective?" Croft asked, his voice icy. "You were the one who called this the cleanest case of your career." "It was," she insisted, but a crack of doubt showed in her armor. She threw a file on his desk. "Soil analysis from the boot print. It was never entered into evidence. My own forensics tech buried it." "Why?" "Because it didn't match," a new voice said from the doorway. Ben Carter, Elias's lawyer, stepped in, water dripping from his coat. "I've been reviewing the evidence logs. The soil on Elias's boots was from his greenhouse, rich, dark, full of organic matter. The soil in the print found at Thorne's house was different. Sandy, high in quartzite. The kind only found on the North Cliff path." Thorne looked away, her jaw tight. "I was told it was an irrelevant discrepancy. Contamination." "By who?" Croft pressed. Before she could answer, a commotion sounded from the hallway. The door opened again, and Clara stood there, breathless, Terra straining at her leash. "It's the trousers," Clara blurted out. "The prison trousers." Terra is smelling the laundry detergent. It's the same scent she reacted to that night. It was on the boots. Ben's eyes widened. The boot print was planted. Someone wore his boots to the crime scene, and Terra knew they smelled wrong. She was trying to tell us. The clock on the wall read 11:17 p.m. Warden Croft looked from the determined lawyer to the shamed detective to the desperate woman and her singularly focused dog. He picked up the phone. "Get me the governor's office. Now." The 24-hour stay was granted. It was enough. Terra's reaction was the key that unlocked the door. Ben Carter and a now doggedly determined Mara Thorne, reckoning with her own role in the tragedy, worked through the night. The soil evidence led them to the North Cliff path. Security camera footage from a nearby rental cabin, previously overlooked, showed a figure matching Heiress Thorne's business partner, a man named Silas Crow, hiking that night. Silas stood to gain millions from the resort deal going through. The clincher came from the laundry. The industrial detergent used by Blackwater Penitentiary was uniquely scented. A forensics team, with Terra eagerly assisting, found trace amounts of that same detergent on Elias's work boots from evidence. Someone involved in the planting of that evidence had handled the boots after being at the prison. That someone was Maraorn's own forensics tech, who was secretly on Silas Crow's payroll. At 11:58 p.m., 2 minutes before the execution was to proceed, the governor called a full pardon. Elias was free. The reunion outside the prison gates, in the still falling rain, was a quiet affair. Elias fell to his knees in the wet asphalt, and Terra covered his face in kisses, her entire body wiggling with a joy so profound it seemed to radiate light. Clara hugged them both, laughing and crying. But as the weeks passed and Elias tried to stitch his life back together in Clara's cottage, he noticed it. Terra was slowing down. She still followed him everywhere, but her steps were stiffer. She slept more, ate less. A visit to the vet confirmed the worst. A rapidly progressing form of cancer. The vet estimated she had held on through sheer willpower for years, waiting for him. The experimental treatments bought them time, but not a cure. On a warm autumn afternoon, with the sun dappling the forest floor of their beloved coastal path, Terra finally stopped walking. She lay down in a patch of soft moss, looked up at Elias and Clara with her loving, mismatched eyes, and let out a soft sigh. Elias lay down beside her, holding her, whispering his thanks into her fur as her breathing slowed. She had carried the truth for him when he could not. She had been the keeper of the silent things, the wrong scent, the buried evidence, the unshakable love. She stayed until her work was done. As her heart beat its last, Elias felt a profound peace settle over the clearing. Terra wasn't just a dog. She was a promise kept. And as he and Clara sat there, surrounded by the ancient living earth, he knew that love, like the truth, never really dies. It simply takes root in memory and grows forever.